My fabulous 67, and welcome to another episode of Positivity for Disabilities. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about some things you should and shouldn't do when meeting an ASD person for the first time. So anyways, what made me think of doing this video is, as you know, may or may not know actually, part of my inspiration for this series, aside from Molly Burke, was a channel called Mommy&Gracie, and one of the things I remember about her is before they would do a meet and greet, they would always have to tell them there was certain things when meeting Gracie that you shouldn't really do, and I didn't, so that's why I'm doing this video. So I don't know if I'm ever going to do a meet and greet, but this might be helpful anyways, so I'm going to do it anyway. And like, one of the things was she doesn't like to be she doesn't like to be crowded. Like, she doesn't like to meet a bunch of people at once. So, like, whenever, like, she would go to conventions and people would be really excited to see her and meet her, so, but she could only really handle, like, maybe 2 or 3 people at a time, because otherwise it was just a lot overwhelming, and I could see that. Anyways, this is that video. So enough about the other person, and let's get started. So I'm gonna do what you actually should do. First of all, you should never, regardless of it, never be afraid to just say hi. And smiling is also acceptable. It's also helpful if you make eye contact or use our name if you know it. This makes it easier for us to know that you're talking to us. And also this one could apply to anyone you're meeting. Don't mumble. That's just very, you can't understand what you're saying. And another one is, we may not always respond as quickly as someone who is, like, normal, so having patience is a good thing when meeting someone like us for the first time. And also, like, if you can't understand what we're saying, don't feel bad asking us to repeat something, because some of us do talk really fast. I know I am guilty of this personally, so there's that. And now we're gonna move on to the things that you really shouldn't do. That crowding, I think I touched on this in the intro. Being in a crowd of people can be a little bit overwhelming for us, so I'm not gonna go further on that because I already pretty much explained that earlier. We need our personal space just as much as you need yours, so that's the reasoning behind that one. And hugs, like, if you've just met me for the first time, please ask before you just randomly walk up and hug me, because I may not really want you to do that. Yeah. I also don't, like, if you're gonna hug me, or any of us, like, I don't mind some hugs sometimes, but what I really do not like is when it's you. The only way I know how to explain it is how my friend described. Hug me, but don't do it tight. Just don't do it tightly, because I do not like tight hugs. I just don't like those. And screaming, please do not scream in my face, or if it is not, or at me if it is not necessary. No, like if I'm like crossing a street or something and there's a car, please do. But like if it's some sort of life-threatening situation like that, if I'm about to get hit by something, please do. But if we're just sitting here walking around wherever, it can be make us feel very uncomfortable at times, and it's just not a good thing. Also, which this next one, I actually had someone do this before. This is not acceptable as a greeting to tug at a shirt or anything that we might be wearing. Actually, I had someone do this before in middle school. She just needed help finding her next class. I don't mind. But tugging at my shirt or any other article of clothing I might be wearing is not an acceptable way of greeting me or getting my attention. You're better off tapping on the shoulder is fine, or you can just say, hey, Lindsay, and then whatever you might need. But please don't tug at my clothes. That's not what you need to do. Another thing you should do is please don't ask 100 questions. That is one of those things that can make meetings a little bit overwhelming. And it's not that you can't ask questions or a lot of questions, but before you ask, just ask one at a time and wait for my answer. Yeah. And other thing is, if you're gonna, first of all, pictures. You should ask first, because there are some of us, myself included, we do not like pictures. We do not like taking pictures. And I probably mentioned the thing about I don't know if I mentioned the thing about being sensitive to bright lights and stuff, or flashing. So flash photography is for me is a definite no. And please just ask before you take a photo. Don't just walk up to me and just start taking my picture, because to me that's just rude. Another thing you probably shouldn't do is, this is probably for anybody, just don't stare at us. Yeah, I know I said earlier you should make eye contact, but I think there's a difference between eye contact and just staring directly at our eyes. But if you just stare, it can you can seem very intimidating to us and make us nervous. And I think that's about it for today's video. If you have any other things that you want to add in on this, feel free to leave those in the comments below. But if there's something that you don't like that wasn't in this video, I would love to know about it. And also, if you like this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And other things you can do are like me on Facebook, follow me on Pinterest and Twitter, and Instagram at lgrace1226. And you can add me on Snapchat. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye. Thanks for watching. Bye.